هودي مسيحيين تنك.
بدنا هالقانون، بدنا القانون، بدنا القانون.
بالاخر التنك بتكبيه.
الكويت عم تتعرض لحرب كثير كبيره، اساسا حرب بالشام بالضاحيه الجنوبيه، عون وجماعته.
Good afternoon, I'm Yuma Nofal and these are today's top stories. Army commandos join other military brigades seeking to impose security in the northern city of Tripoli after deadly clashes between rival neighborhoods leave several people dead. Dozens are killed in ongoing battles for the Syrian town of Qusair as Hezbollah sends new elite fighters to the rebel stronghold. An emergency team sift through rubble in Oklahoma suburbs where up to 91 people are feared dead after a massive tornado. Army commandos joined other military brigades seeking to impose security in the northern city of Tripoli after deadly clashes between rival neighborhoods left several people dead and injured. The Army completed the deployment before noon in the areas that witnessed heavy clashes in the past 3 days. But after the deployment, the clashes and sniper fire intensified in several areas and mainly in the neighborhoods of Beit Tabene and Jabal Muhsin, reportedly leaving 1 dead and at least 5 injured. All private and state-run schools in Tripoli and the nearby Al-Badawi area were closed. The Lebanese University campus in Al-Kobe, in addition to shops and markets, were also shut. The Army command said 2 soldiers were killed in Beit Tabene. Caretaker Defense Minister Faiz Ghassan condemned the attack on the army, saying the military institution will remain steadfast to protect the country and preserve security. At least 8 Lebanese and Syrians were injured after rockets hit several towns in Lebanon's northern district of Akkad from the Syrian side of the border. The state-run national news agency reported that rockets hit at dawn the town of Al-Khwasle and Al-Nsoub in the area of Mount Hakroum and Wadi Khalid. The incident forced many families to flee their homes. Residents of the border towns urged the Lebanese army to intervene to prevent similar incidents from taking place. Rockets from clashes between Syrian regime troops and rebels fighting to topple President Assad regularly land in Lebanese towns that lie near the border. Caretaker Interior Minister Marwan Sharbil admitted that the authorities had miscalculated in not building camps to house Syrian refugees escaping the fighting in their country. In remarks to Voice of Lebanon Radio, Sharbil said, "We should have kept Syrian refugees in tents and provided them with all the necessary humanitarian assistance and medical aid to contain the security violators that are present among them. We made a mistake in dealing with this issue." And in response to a question on the presence of Syrian nationals among the casualties in the recent fighting in Tripoli. Dozens of people, mostly combatants, have been killed in ongoing battles for the Syrian towns of Qusair. Activists say as Hezbollah sent new elite fighters to the rebel stronghold. At least 31 Hezbollah fighters have been killed since Sunday, as well as 68 rebel fighters, 6 of whom they are unable to identify, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Hezbollah's television channel broadcast images showing hundreds of people attending funerals for 5 members killed, carrying out their jihadist duty. The observatory's chief, Abdulrahman Rami, said most of the rebels who were killed in Qusair, a strategic town that links Damascus to the coast and the heartland of Assad's Alawite sect, died in the shelling. A source close to Hezbollah told AFP that the Lebanese group's fighters have been killed by explosive devices planted by rebels who are seeking to oust his regime. Syria says it destroyed an Israeli vehicle that crossed the ceasefire line in the Golan Heights overnight, while the Israeli military said gunfire from Syria had hit an Israeli patrol, damaging a vehicle and prompting its troops to fire back. The 2 sides appear to be referring to the same incident. Sporadic fire from Syria's civil war has occasionally hit the Israeli-controlled Golan Heights, a strategic plateau Israel captured in the 1967 war. Israel assumes most of the incidents are accidental fire, but its forces have responded on several occasions. The incident, however, marked the first time that the Syrian army has acknowledged firing at Israeli troops across the frontier and appeared to be an attempt by President Assad's regime to project toughness following 3 Israeli strikes near Damascus this year. Syrian opposition groups are meeting in Madrid to complete a draft political solution to the conflict. The talks, which entered a second day on Tuesday, included Muaz al-Khatib, who resigned last week as leader of the Syrian National Coalition. Khatib cited the failure of the international community to stop the conflict as the reason he stepped down. The Spanish Foreign Ministry said various movements of the opposition to Syria's President Bashar al-Assad were involved in the talks, in addition to the coalition, which is the main opposition bloc. Pressed back by army advances, Syria's opposition is under international pressure to enter into dialogue with Assad's government. The Spanish Foreign Ministry said among the Madrid meeting aim is to facilitate dialogue between the various movements in the Syrian opposition, thereby aiding its cohesion and its future capacity to ensure unity, stability and democracy in Syria. A massive tornado with winds of up to 200 miles per hour has teared through Oklahoma City. U.S. President Barack Obama has declared major disaster with at least 91 people dead and scores more injured and missing. Linda Tamim reports.
This amateur footage shows the 3-kilometer-wide tornado packing winds of up to 320 kilometers per hour as it tore through Oklahoma City, killing at least 91 people, including 20 children. 230 others were injured. NBC News station has provided live aerial images of destroyed buildings, including a damaged school and hospital. Rescue teams worked into the darkness in search of survivors as a dangerous storm system threatened several southern plains states with more twisters. Local authorities say approximately 7,000 customers were left without power. Some residents of Oklahoma were still recovering from a strong storm front that hit the state last Sunday, with fist-sized hail, blinding rain and tornadoes, including a half-mile-wide twister that struck near Oklahoma City. Survivors recount their harrowing experience after the tornado destroyed their homes.
We thought we died because we're inside the cellar door. We locked the cellar door once we saw it coming, and it got louder. And next thing you know, you see the latch coming undone, and we couldn't reach for it, and it ripped open the door, and it just glass and debris started slamming on us. And we thought we were dead, to be honest.
We lost everything. Everything's gone. I guess they found some pots and pans and a few pictures. And I have some pictures in a closet in there that are okay, but basically everything's gone. We get to start over, but we're alive and healthy, and praise God for that.
U.S. President Barack Obama spoke with Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin to express his concern and ordered federal aid to help state and local recovery efforts. Fallin told reporters that hearts are broken for parents looking for their children. She declared 16 counties disaster areas and deployed the state National Guard and extra police to assist with rescue operations.
Coming up next, Antonio Banderas will star in a movie as one of the 33 Chilean miners trapped deep underground, and the survivor is ecstatic. Stay with us. Welcome back. Several bomb blasts killed at least 12 people in Iraq, police say, a day after more than 70 died in attacks on majority Shias, stoking fears of all-out sectarian war with minority Sunnis. More than 200 people have been killed in the past week as Sunni-Shia tensions, fueled by the civil war in neighboring Syria, threatened to plunge Iraq back into communal bloodletting. In Tuesday's violence, 3 roadside bombs exploded near a livestock market in the ethnically mixed city of Kirkuk, killing 6 people and shredding the bodies of humans and animals alike. Kirkuk is in a disputed oil-rich swath of Iraq, claimed both by the Shia-dominated government in Baghdad and ethnic Kurds who run their own autonomous administration in the north. 2 car bombs blasted killed 3 people in a residential area of the town of Tuzhulmato, also in the disputed area. On to Egypt, where talks to resolve a dispute between judges and the government of Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi break down over a draft law that would impose a mandatory retirement age on judges, with many in the judiciary accusing the Brotherhood of trying to take control of state institutions. More details in this report.
A power struggle between Egypt's judges and the government of President Mohamed Morsi over a controversial new judicial law is continuing after talks to resolve the dispute broke down. Last week, senior judges halted talks with Morsi after Parliament decided to discuss the proposed laws, despite presidential promises to seek consensus first. Islamist lawmakers, allied to Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood, are pushing a bill that would force out more than 3,000 judges by lowering the retirement age from 70 to 60. The Brotherhood accuses many judges of being remnants of the era of deposed President Hosni Mubarak, saying they have sought to obstruct elections, legislations, and attempts to bring corrupt former officials to justice. The judicial reform bill has also angered liberal, leftist, and ultra-conservative Islamist opposition groups, which accuse the Brotherhood of trying to control state institutions rather than pressing genuine reforms, accusations the Brotherhood denies. Many in the judiciary see echoes of the tactics used by ousted President Hosni Mubarak in the new bill and believe Morsi is trying to seek out quasi-legal ways to sideline his opponents. One of Morsi's chief adversaries in dispute is the head of the Judges Club, Ahmed al-Zind, who condemned the proposed changes during a recent meeting at the High Court. Under pressure over the bill last month, Morsi invited senior jurists to hold a justice conference to discuss the reforms, which he said would personally adopt the proposals that came out of the meeting. But the Supreme Judicial Council said it was halting preparations for the conference after the Shura Council, the Islamist-dominated upper house that claims legislative power, said it would resume discussions of the law on May the 25th. President Morsi has been a loggerheads with parts of the judiciary since he took office. His chief foil has been the Supreme Constitutional Court, which nullified parliamentary elections that brought Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood to power. He has since delegated legislative power to the Upper House Shura Council, also dominated by his Islamist allies. But the SEC has reserved for itself the right to review the Upper House elections as well, and also angered Morsi by scrutinizing Egypt's new Islamist-backed constitution. The row between the government and the judiciary has widened Egypt's political rifts, adding to the turbulence that has hammered the economy since Mubarak's overthrow in a popular uprising in February of 2011. Protests by supporters and opponents of the proposed changes have converged at various times at the High Court, with a recent protest by the Muslim Brotherhood turning violent.
Now for news around the world in brief. A blast on an explosive plant in China left 13 people dead and another 20 missing. State media says compounding the country's poor industrial safety record. Another 19 were injured in an explosion on Monday at a 3-story workshop owned by a wholly explosive state-owned company in the eastern province of Shandong. Rescuers are still searching for the missing, but cleanup efforts had also started, the report said, citing the rescue headquarters. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry will help ink a major estimated $2.1 billion proposed deal with Oman to supply a U.S.-made air defense system to the Gulf nation. One of the main focuses of Kerry's trip to Muscat was to applaud the signing of a letter of intent between Oman and U.S. manufacturer Raytheon ahead of talks on the final contract, they told reporters traveling with him to Oman. Kerry had strongly backed the bid by the company based in his home state of Massachusetts before taking office as the new top U.S. diplomat on February 1st. And Saudi economic growth will slow to 4.4% this year from 6.8% of last year due to an expected fall in oil production and cuts in government spending, according to the International Monetary Fund. Following talks with Saudi Arabia, an IMF mission said it was right time for the kingdom to undergo fiscal reforms to hike fuel prices to reduce consumption and to take precautionary measures to contain inflation. The IMF says inflation has picked up since mid-2012 due to higher food prices and cost increases for restaurants, hotels, and transportations that remains contained at 4.0%. And Antonio Banderas, the Hollywood actor, will star in a movie as one of the 33 Chilean miners trapped deep underground for more than 2 months back in 2010. And the charismatic survivor says he's playing him. Well, he could not be happier about that. Mike Medavoy, producer of The 33, as it will be called, announced on Sunday at the Cannes Film Festival that Banderas will play Mario Sepulveda, who was known as Super Mario, and who became the public face of the miners. The film will dramatize the cave-in at a mine in Chile's Atacama Desert and the globally televised rescue of the miners that mesmerized millions worldwide. Sepulveda said he is thrilled because he's a fan of the Spanish actor and that he hopes the movie will remind people how life is the most valuable gift. Even in their despair, Sepulveda said, peace, love, solidarity, and teamwork were shared by the miners who survived entrapment longer than anyone else before. And that is the end of our bulletin today. Let me remind you of the headlines. Army commandos join other military brigades seeking to impose security in the northern city of Tripoli after deadly clashes between rival neighborhoods left several dead. Dozens of people are killed in ongoing battles for the Syrian town of Qusaid as Hezbollah sends new elite fighters to the rebel stronghold. An emergency team sift through rubble in Oklahoma suburbs where up to 91 people are feared dead after a massive tornado. Those are your Tuesday headlines live on Future Television in Beirut. I'm Yumna Naufal wishing you a good night.
هودي مسيحيين تنك.
بدنا القانون، بدنا القانون، بدنا القانون.
بالاخر التنك بتكبيك.
الكويت عم تتعرض لحرب كتير كبيرة، بأساسها حرب بالشام بالضاحية الجنوبية، عون وجماعته